Dear friends, welcome. My name is Alexey Ognev, CEO of the DigiU ecosystem. Today we have a webinar, and its main part will be addressing questions that our audience has raised or may raise. This follows the major report webinar film that aired on May 10, which covered the extensive work done over the past 6 months. It was dedicated to the completion of share sales, our goals and our plans. In that session, we discussed important topics such as the recalculation and burning of shares, along with key figures, proportions and crucial dates that are just a few days away. The first of 3 snapshots will soon take place, which will allow us, while respecting the interest of all our investors, to recalculate and burn unclaimed shares and move towards a legally significant valuation of the company and its further development. Over the past few days, we have been collecting pressing questions in chats and specially published forms. Today, I will try to answer them in a simple and understandable dialogue with you. If more questions arise during this webinar, please write them below this broadcast or duplicate in our chats. Throughout the session, the team and I will be present in the chats to engage in live dialogue and communication with you. This is our first goal for today's meeting. The second goal is to discuss some recent events. There aren't many, but they are quite significant. In the first part, I will likely go over them again, as I have been doing throughout these 6 months of the year. I will remind you of the main events right at the start, as many people from different countries are joining the ecosystem. Some may not have watched the webinars for a long time, and some are new. We strive to convey the main message to everyone. The DigiU ecosystem is at the stage of completing the sale of shares. This significant event, announced back in December last year, has been our focus for these 5 full months: January, February, March, April, and now May, which is nearing its end. We prepared for several months last year, and now there is less and less time until June 30, the date when the last share package can be issued. We will also talk about this today, along with some pleasant surprises. I think many of you will find the surprise I have at the end of the session quite enjoyable. So, let's move in order. First, the key date and event awaiting the entire ecosystem in the first half of 2024 is the completion of share sales. June 30 is the last day when a new share package can be issued. After that, you will only be able to pay off the issued installments, and the sale of new packages will be closed. This is done to form a complete shareholder registry, encompassing the maximum possible number of shares that will be sold and held in installments, which you can continue to pay for 15 months after this date. We will determine the final maximum number, and, based on the number of investors and sold shares, the next important procedure will begin. This procedure includes burning unclaimed shares, recalculating shares, reorganizing, transitioning to a more comfortable jurisdiction, and performing a legally significant company valuation, preparing for events such as IPO, if we choose the public placement route, or developing as a closed dividend organization, with a closed list of shareholders. Most likely, it will be a hybrid or sequential model. Our task is to transform the legal structure that emerged in 2019, developed in 2020, and which we have now, into one that would legitimately consider the interest of all investors and take into account all the newly emerged political, economic, and other features of the global order in recent years. That's what everything is being done for. And the first key step is the formation of the final list of shareholders and the amount of shares. With great pleasure and pride, we spoke back in December of last year about how our crowd investing model has done its job. We even exceeded the plan and achieved goals that we didn't even expect. We have established a technical and economic base, a venture fund with commercial products, and have been paying dividends since the first year of the company's development. We have formed an extensive community that is highly resourceful in promoting our existing projects and establishing connections. We have achieved so much, even things we hadn't anticipated. We have successfully accomplished this over time. This and much more was discussed in detail with Alexander, Peter, and heads of the projects that we actively funded and developed over the past 6 months, including the bank and the marketplace. We covered these topics in the May 10 webinar. It was more of an excellent, sequential, and interesting film and dialogue with the audience, which brought me immense positive emotions. Everyone who watched, all the feedback I read, and everyone who wrote to me personally or in chats or support expressed that it was a powerful, significant event. Indeed, such a significant and powerful event. What we released on the 10th of May, how we talked about what happened and what lies ahead this year and the next one, was truly significant. So, if you joined us in the year of 2019, had a break and didn't follow up, you might have fragmented information about the ecosystem. The webinar from the 10th of May 2024 is a comprehensive 2-hour session that covers everything we have accomplished in the past few months, including the progress of the RWA projects. One of the key points is that the number of commercial projects in the ecosystem has grown by 220% in 6 months. We explained this topic in an interesting, detailed, and clear manner. If you haven't watched it, or watched it only once, I highly recommend watching it again, especially Peter's presentation. He explains in detail how the concept of a digital identity is being implemented, how our AI-related developments are integrated, and how our blockchain projects, where we invest, fit into this system. Why is all of this an integral part of implementing the concept of a person's digital identity? And why, over the past 4.5 years, as we've seen the potential in this, we've only become more convinced that this is the right path to take. It's a path to be taken, not in opposition to major delegates, but alongside them. And Peter very clearly, very technically, very scientifically, as befits the head of the technical department, which looks to the future, elaborates on this topic. Be sure to watch his introduction. Alexander speaks vividly about the fund's activities, how it operates, where it will be registered, and the work done by the project managers. This includes the RWA bank and RWA marketplace. the first commercial entities, such as the wallet, deposits, and the tokenized real estate marketplace, have been launched. They have encountered the market, received initial feedback, and the next steps have been outlined. I personally insist and strongly recommend that all of you watch this. Early investors, midterm investors, and those who joined us at the end of last year or this year should watch it. Let's go over the key events again. On May 10, 2024, we summarized everything clearly. We will provide links here or below the broadcast. Make sure to watch it. This will truly allow you to understand the entire sequence of events here and the immense journey and result that we are incredibly proud of and acknowledge. It is recognized not only by us within the system and by our ambitions, but also by the outside world, by the product's clients, with whom it is impossible to argue. Therefore, from the bottom of my heart, to all those who have traveled this path with us, I congratulate you once again. And we are literally 1 month away from the next incredibly important, cool step that the ecosystem must and will take in order to further expand, accelerate, and implement the stages that we outlined several years ago and are successfully realizing. Currently, we are in the venture fund stage, which will conclude in 2025, with much more to achieve. The step of completing share sales, transitioning to a new organizational form, burning unclaimed shares, and accelerating towards a classic business model, while integrating innovative missions and goals is crucial. We will take this step on June 30. So, let's focus on this information right now. It was probably most beneficial to everyone, including newcomers and those who follow or read the news. We always urge you to do so. Last week, there was another very significant event that I can't help but react to, and for which we also received a tremendous response, leading to an unplanned decision to launch the second snapshot of the Apato project, the snapshot of the tokenized real estate marketplace, specifically for a property that is currently listed and actively being sold, is attracting investments from people not only within our ecosystem, but also externally. All those who have encountered this product here in Indonesia continue to engage actively. We follow our traditional mechanisms when launching a new project, understanding that its goal is to attract audience attention. I am very glad that we do it this way, as it proves effective. So, we are not asking for anything in return. We are giving gifts, these snapshots. At the end of April, we realized the need to attract attention to the Apato marketplace. How do we do that? We need to give our audience real estate properties, so that our audience, you see, those who watch, those who don't, those who simply regularly pay installments, read posts occasionally, and so on. We were able to practically evaluate what it's like to own tokenized real estate, how simple it is, how easy it is, how it can be a new sensation for someone. Most importantly, at the action level, we assessed what it's like to receive rental income. We took 10% of the real estate properties, which is 565 tokens, each of which costs $50. And among all those who purchased a share from May 1st to 15th, we distributed these 560 tokens. Some received a whole token, some received a part. As soon as the property is completed and fully redeemed, you will start receiving real income a month after this event. The property is actually rented out with a high occupancy rate, ranging from 80% to 90% throughout the year, managed by a reputable company. Apato handles the verification, legal checks, selection, tokenization, sale, and ongoing maintenance of the properties, including rental income distribution. Thanks to our developed tokenization systems, we were able to distribute these tokens effectively. Why am I focusing on this event? And why did it spark such a reaction from our audience? One of the snapshot participants, an investor from Côte d'Ivoire, closed his installment plan during the snapshot period. He had a few payments left, which he paid off early. This wasn't a $10,000 payment. He made 3 payments, but the exact amount is less relevant. The key point is that by closing his installment plan early, he accumulated enough shares to receive 73 real estate tokens in this snapshot. Multiply 73 by $50, and you will see the bonus he received from this simple action, completing his installment plan. This happened because he once showed interest in our technology and purchased a real estate package from our company. So, around $3,700 was gifted to him. We contacted him, and he shared his expressions in text form. The person is very happy. He didn't expect it. We didn't expect it. To get $3,000. It's cool. And this is such a bright example of what's happening in our ecosystem right now. Not sometime in the future, not in 5, 10 or 20 years. But these things that we are doing, they're happening right here, right now. They allow people who are following the ecosystem, and they don't need to do anything new. He completed his installment plan and immediately received real estate tokens in his portfolio, which are traded on the secondary market and will bring dividends and income as their value increases along with the property value. Essentially, he regained almost a third of his investment, not counting his participation in other snapshots, such as RWA Bank, Ava, and Binarix. It's safe to say he may have already recovered 50% or more of his $10,000 investment. So, what I want to focus your attention on is that this is not just possible. It's happening right before your eyes. The ecosystem is extremely pleased to create such opportunities. We consider this the right position, the right approach in terms of realizing our mission, so that people benefit from all modern technologies, both in the future we are creating together and in the present moment. They benefit from participating, from contributing to the system, from participating in the activities we create, from reading our posts, from spreading information from us. Through his specific example, you can see how this happens in reality. And there are actually many such examples, all related again to the snapshots that we regularly conduct and in which everyone will participate in June. We will talk about the 3 main snapshots a bit later. When this event happened, we published it. We saw for ourselves that this person did the right thing. And naturally, we posted it and received dozens of requests from different countries around the world. Let's take another one. We could extend it, but in general, we didn't discuss it for long. We understood that this mechanism will strengthen both Apato in the future and overall interest in tokenized real estate. It's the right action from all sides, in terms of interacting with the community and strengthening the projects we are currently working on. Therefore, from May 16 to May 31, an additional 10% of the real estate property currently listed on our Apato marketplace will be credited to all shares purchased during this period. That's what I wanted to focus your attention on. And now, perhaps, let's move on to the next part. Right now, I will give you a general overview, introductory information, and then we will try to answer specific questions that were asked. I will try to provide all the necessary information in a more free-form manner, in a dialogue mode, with your questions and my answers. So, on June 30, we conclude the sale of shares, the last day. Then, as I mentioned, we need to compile a registry, see the maximum number of shares sold, and begin the procedure of reorganization and burning of unclaimed shares. We will do this in several stages. The first stage will involve burning 100 billion shares out of 200 in July. We expect that the maximum volume of installments we arrange, the maximum volume of shares purchased, will not exceed 10%. At the very beginning, when we launched, we mentioned that 10% is the portion of company shares allocated for crowd investing. With the closure of share sales, we see that part of the sold shares constitutes this 10%, which we are now realizing. 100 billion shares will be burned, and the process of legally selecting jurisdictions that consider all investors' interests will begin. This will allow the company to develop effectively, properly evaluate its assets, and so on. By completing the sales, we significantly accelerate the company's development, because this preparation process for further growth starts now, and it's proceeding correctly. This process is not confined to the personal account, but involves legally significant actions, which we will discuss around September or October, once we complete the selection and all necessary steps. Our goal with this event, the completion of share sales, which I have repeatedly mentioned in previous webinars, is to form a pool of purchased installments. The volume of this pool will provide the ecosystem with a financially stable cushion to complete the second stage of our development and the venture fund stage. This will also finance new projects we will launch to enter the market and strengthen existing ones. Our task is to form a pool of installments and purchase shares large enough to ensure stable operations throughout 2024 and 2025. During this period, we will receive necessary funding from installment payments to achieve all set and emerging goals. What should you focus on during the webinar? As of the 10th of May, we had around $3.5 million in active payments. According to our long-term company statistics, 56% of these installments are not paid off. This means we expect that more than half might not be paid. However, we believe that the ecosystem's value and the importance of these non-restorable installments will increase, encouraging people to treat them more responsibly. Well, let's say, for instance, 30% will not be paid out. Such things happen in life. We understand. It's our task to form the necessary pool of contracts that will enable the ecosystem to achieve its goals. And these three snapshots, these are the three main dates: on June 1st, June 16th, and correspondingly June 30th and July 1st. On the first day after the sale of shares, when we conduct the three main June snapshots, based on which we will recalculate the shares in July. Why is this done? Why there are three of them? And why is there a certain distribution table that we ask you to pay attention to? It's done not only for significant legal reasons, but also to increase the activity of our audience. Because only after the webinar did we see a huge surge of interest from those who've been with us since 2019, 2020, 2021, from the early investors who invested in the very first, risky stages of the company's development, who undoubtedly made their contribution. We received interest from them. How can we increase our package? But as usual, there are restrictions on your purchases. Before, I could buy up to 30,000. Now it's a maximum of 10 or 20. A huge number of requests. So we attracted the audience attention. Most importantly, that audience saw the results of our work. Tangible results that are undeniable, recognized. They became interested. Since December. This year, these are the people who joined us. The backbone of the audience that is entering a steadily developing company, seeing the results of our work, becoming more actively involved, practically without risks, seeing the snapshots, products, business models, the volumes of dividends paid out, plans for the next year, commercial products, and fund development. So these are the people who are most involved right now in the context of the current events. They are the ones who will either arrange installments or have already arranged them and will be paying them off during the years of 2024 and 2025. Those who may increase them or arrange new ones, and so on. These are the people who are, by the way, aware of all the latest events and at the same time understand what is happening. And the third audience, those who are just joining us, those who need time to figure things out, those who need time to choose an installment, to have the opportunity to increase it, to somehow jump on board at the last moment and form such a volume of portfolio that will allow them to receive not just a tiny bit of dividends or ownership of the company, understanding that their contribution to the future in 2024 and 2025 is just as significant, no less significant than that of early investors, so that they too can be in such more or less equal opportunities. Naturally, all those who joined at the very early stage, and we will talk about that. There is an interesting question. I'll read it out, or we will discuss it later. We always consider multiple perspectives and try to look at any question from different angles. This is the first perspective, the company's interest. its financial security, and the realization of its goals, gaining commercial profit, and the commercial significance of the things we do. Because we are a business, not some government structure, not some company that doesn't set goals solely for the greater good. We evolve as a business company with certain values, with certain mission, guided by business necessity. The company's interests, then the interests of the majority, that's what we look at. And the interests of each individual in each case, in our group of clients. Looking at this multi-factor model, we understand that these actions take into account the interests of the company and maximize the opportunity to fill the financial cushion and exist safely during the years 2024 to 2025. Considering the interests of the majority, so that this event, this stable development, concludes in the years of 2024 and 2025. Naturally, this majority interest will lead to dividends. Ahead will lead possibly to an IPO, possibly to a closed joint stock company. With high capitalization and dividend yield will be the advantages of this form of organization. And the interests of each individual who always has in mind the question, what is this? What is this for me? How do I choose here? And how I'm going to make money here? Can I already do it? Or even if I buy now or increase my installment, it will not really give much. So there are 3 points. There are probably more. I'm simplifying now. But 3 points of view. The company, the majority, each individual. Here is what they will gain. Everyone should win. And that's why such a plan was actually developed, which will allow us to recalculate, increase attention and form the necessary pool of installments, and guarantee their payment or increase the conversion rate for their payment. And actually, let's move on to the questions now. And I will be reading from the phone and responding in the question-answer mode. Let's move on to the questions. I will read them out and answer them. What will happen on June 30, 2024? Despite all our communications, people still ask about this date. So, why is it important? June 30, 2024 marks the final opportunity to purchase a new package and the end of share sales. For more details, rewind this webinar to the beginning or watch the webinar from May 10, which is linked below this video. This date signifies the transition of the DigiU ecosystem to its next development stage. It's quite a crucial date, because after this date, you can still make installment payments, and one of you will become the last person to purchase the final new package. We will certainly recognize this individual. They will leave their mark on the history of the DigiU ecosystem. So, when will the snapshots take place? It's straightforward. The nearest snapshot is on June 1st. This includes all shares purchased before June 1st. Snapshot number 2 covers additional shares bought up to June 16. And snapshot number 3 is the final one, happening on July 1st. You can see the date on the screen. Now, what about the share groups? Which groups participate in each snapshot? And why is this important? As mentioned, we have several investor groups. These groups essentially represent DigiU ecosystem investors. Early investors, those who joined in the last 6 months, and those yet to join. May and June are the last chances to join. Each of these share groups has made or will make a significant contribution to the development of the DigiU ecosystem over the next 2 years, as I mentioned earlier. The first group consists of shares purchased from the company's launch in November 2019 to December 2023. This is a substantial number of shares, around 4 billion, from approximately 18,000 unique investors. We must consider the interest of this audience. The second group comprises those who joined from January 1 this year. These individuals are most up to date, having seen past and present results. They will form the backbone of the audience, making installment payments in 2024 and 2025. The third group consists of those not yet with us, including new individuals joining us now due to increased activity. These people might not yet understand something. They might not be watching like you have been for several years, but they will definitely contribute, which will be comparable in many ways to the contribution of early investors. Therefore, we must consider their interest as well. And for this, we have developed a table where the expected proportion of token distribution is indicated for each of these groups during the recalculation. We understand that we will only be able to determine the exact proportions after the sales are completed, when we conduct the recalculation, and when we thoroughly check everything multiple times, and when we process all the requests in the support service. A significant portion of this recalculation will take place in July, after we have finalized everything and gone through multiple checks, including support requests and any installment adjustments. And I mean all requests received by June 30. After this, we will publish the final share count. The recalculation ratios will closely align with those in the table, though they may differ by around 15%. We reserve this right because accurately determining all factors and publishing final figures now is not feasible. The main goal here is to understand the principle. Next question. Can you participate in all 3 snapshots? Yes, you can. What do you need to do? Essentially, you need to be a member of each of the 3 groups. For instance, if you are an early investor, to participate, you either need an ongoing installment plan from 2023, which you continue to pay, or if you closed it, start a new one. If you've made payments in 2023, continue to do so in 2024 with no active overdue payments by April and June, you will participate in all 3 snapshots. This will allow you to maximize your share count from all 3 groups. Newcomers still have the opportunity to join, enter the first share group, and can also participate in all 3 cases if they join in time. Participation is determined by payment. We have provided a detailed post on how this will work. and we will continue to clarify. So, no additional action is required from you, other than timely installment payments. If you pay them, you participate in all snapshots. If you are a super early investor, my recommendation is to consider opening a new package. You will gain even more in the recalculation. That's my recommendation. Take a look and make a decision. Time is limited, but I strongly recommend it. And why are these snapshots conducted? As I mentioned, they allow us to focus audience attention and ensure a plan that will enable us to obtain necessary funding through installment payments in 2024 and 2025. Even if not all payments are fully completed, we guarantee the achievement of all set goals, transitioning to the third stage of company's development. Towards the end of 2025, we will begin to see, perhaps even earlier, the first exits, profits from venture fund deals. The company will move away from purely investment-driven growth towards profitability, towards becoming self-sustaining and truly representing a business. How can you participate in a snapshot? Simply make any payment within the period relevant to the share group you want to join. It's important to ensure you have no active overdue payments, as such investors are considered unreliable and will be excluded from the snapshot. So please make sure all your payments are on time. Will active unpaid installments be recalculated? Yes, if you open an installment plan, it will also be recalculated. In your final payment, you will see an additional amount to compensate for the recalculation difference. Why does the company conduct recalculations and evaluations? This question often comes up. If you look at the price at which shares are sold and multiply it by the number of shares, you get an unrealistic market capitalization that complicates accurate assessments and confuses auditors and lawyers. This is an unconventional approach, but it has brought us success. Those who joined early have done exceptionally well. You have secured a future for yourselves, your children, and possibly your entire family, provided you manage these assets wisely. However, our goal is to develop the company in compliance with existing laws, not against them. Hence, we need to understand concepts like capitalization and company valuation. Once we complete the sales, the concept of price will change. Our task will be to determine the company's market capitalization accurately, considering real market value, not just the price we have set. By multiplying the number of shares by their price, we will get a realistic valuation, supported by documents. Current estimated calculations factoring in intellectual property, fund deals, existing assets and developments suggest a valuation between $400 million and $600 million. However, our goal is to become a unicorn, valued at $1 billion. This valuation is crucial for positioning the company correctly in the market, preparing for IPO if necessary, and functioning as a closed joint stock company. This will ensure a legally significant structure, operating within market laws, protecting the interest of companies, investors, shareholders, and all individuals involved with the organization. That's why we do all this. This process will be carried out this year, and results will be shared in autumn. Our current task is to complete the sales, burn the necessary shares, and begin the evaluation procedure. How will you know if you participated in the snapshot? It's simple. In your personal account, under the Investors Portfolio section, you will see a badge indicating your participation in snapshot number 1, snapshot number 2, or snapshot number 3. This will help you confirm your participation. When will the recalculation and allocation of shares take place after the snapshots? As mentioned, this will take place in July. We will publish all final proportions, share counts, and related data between July 10 and 15. We will ensure everything is verified and publish the official data. The recalculation and allocation will take place between July 16 and July 20. These are some specific questions that have been asked. Now there are interesting, personal questions coming from different countries around the world. I have highlighted some and will try to answer them. There are 3 such interesting questions, one of which is quite specific. What will the share price be after sales close? When discussing the closure of sales, the concept of share price becomes irrelevant. The figure in your personal account will no longer matter, because there will be no sales. Contracts are in place, and you settle according to these contracts, each with its own price, because everyone entered at different stages, with different bonuses from various promotions. This must be considered. Remember, we have the sales price, which is used to calculate various bonuses and promotions. Keep this in mind. So, the concept of price after sales closure becomes irrelevant until the company is evaluated, meaning until the market valuation of the company. And when we burn the unclaimed shares, the first burn will be 100 billion shares. We know these 100 billion shares are unnecessary, so they will be burned. Next, we will remove the jurisdiction, consult all necessary specialists, and conduct another share burn by the end of the year. However, this will not affect the shares of those who joined during the crowd investing stage. This will come from other unclaimed shares. Now, we can show a chart with the proportions of the community's share in the company. I'm not talking about the number of shares, but the proportion itself, which is up to 40%. For the founders and the team, we lean towards keeping 51% to maintain control and manage the company. There will be around 10 to 15% left in reserve for unforeseen circumstances, or rather for flexibility. In September or October, we are going to publish the final proportions, the final number of shares, the jurisdiction, the legal form, and other necessary details. Now, let's answer the question: why burn shares, and what does it give to a regular investor? You will own a larger portion of the company. If investors currently hold about 3%, imagine owning 35%. The benefit is obvious here. Let's move on to the next question. This one is interesting and comes from a certain group of investors, and it's sometimes asked in different countries. Here is the short answer. The recalculation table doesn't consider the interest of early investors. Let's read it. Why do we talk about equal value for all investors when one group gets 90% and another 110%? This is an emotional question about legal opportunities. The first group includes the largest number of investors over 4 years, while the other groups have fewer. Given that shares will be distributed among all, the first group will receive significantly fewer rewards. Is this what you call equal opportunities? Let's break this answer into parts. First, the final recalculation and proportions will be based on the final number of investors and the share of each of the 3 groups we have defined. Once we understand this, we will recalculate considering all groups' interests, including early investors, their contributions, and those of groups 2 and 3. We will ensure everyone feels satisfied and understands why they pay in installments. Early investor dividends and company ownership will not be small, but substantial, because it would be uninteresting if you joined this year or month and received much smaller dividends than the early investors, despite holding the same shares. That's why we are taking into account the interest of all the groups. Now, the second part of the answer to this question, which many people forget about. Not just forget, but also don't pay attention to, and are very surprised when we mention it, although it's not a secret to you. Early investors participated. I don't even know how many snapshots, how many project tokens they received, how many dividends, AVA, Binaryx, RWA projects, participation in sales, real estate tokens, which I talked about in this webinar. There were bonus shares at early stages. There were huge bonus sizes in the early stages, reaching up to 50%. There were offers like doubling packages, offers to fix rates. But for some reason, these are always overlooked and not paid attention to. I always urge early investors. I know you understand what I'm talking about. Don't forget about this. Consider how much there was besides shares. How many distributions you have already participated in. Look at your investor's portfolio in your personal account. It's designed the way it is for a reason. You see the amount of money you have invested. And below that, the asset valuation. For most people, for example with AVA, it shows 0 invested. But they received a certain amount of dollars or up to $1,000 from snapshots. The same applies to other projects. Consider this and look not only at the purchase price, but also at the bonuses you have received and will receive. Therefore, saying that early investors are not in an advantageous or unfair position is absolutely incorrect, because it's not true in fact. During distribution and recalculations, everything is naturally taken into account, Don't worry, we always consider your interests. These are not just my words. They are backed by 4.5 years of actions, facts confirmed by actions. So, be reassured. We will do everything, take everything into account. Actually, thank you for the question, because you gave me the opportunity to answer it to an audience that might think this way. Probably, now, when they look at their investor portfolio, they will indeed see something significant. So, the question that was also asked in private messages, including by someone named Raisa, and which she asked me to answer in the webinar, it can also be categorized under a certain group of questions. Do early investors need to buy new packages to participate in the recalculation? This is the general name for these questions. Now I will read it out. Please, if an investor has closed all their installments opened in 2019, 2020, and has no outstanding installments, in other words, a reliable investor has paid off everything. Something has caught their attention again in 2019. Is it necessary for such an investor to buy a new package or open an installment? Or is it not necessary to buy a new package, as the snapshot will be based on all previously purchased shares, and purchasing a new package is not mandatory? The answer to this question has already been mentioned during this webinar. Specifically for you, if you want to maximize your opportunities, I recommend opening a new package on installment. So, take another look at the ecosystem. It was different in 2019, and it's different now in terms of strength, content, prospects, and company experience. So, maybe you would like to open another package. This maximizes your opportunities. If you don't do this, you will participate with your existing share package according to the distribution table I mentioned today. I believe more questions will arise. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, write in the chat. Maybe someone heard something new and has any questions. I will also respond, and we will hold another webinar. It's worth noting that there are just under 10 days left until the first snapshot. You are watching the webinar on the 23rd of May, so it's about 7 to 10 days. In general, make decisions quickly and maximize your opportunities if you are a new investor. Make a decision. If you have been with us for a long time, look at the company, at the path it has taken, and consider whether you have enough shares, whether you are invested enough. Maybe you have only invested $100 or $500. Naturally, you need to increase it to $1,000 or $3,000 on installment. So it's obvious that expecting a comfortable life for your family, starting from $100 investment made in 2019, even though there are a considerable number of shares, is perhaps too ambitious. Look at expanding your package, getting a new one. There are opportunities. Go to your personal account and make a decision. Yes, I said at the beginning of the webinar, there are some surprises. And we understand that new people are joining the ecosystem. These are people with a new mentality, approach, and view of the company's products. We see this because we are launching new products ourselves. And in fact, we are transitioning, perhaps, from the ecosystem, thanks to the development of new products, into some new reality. This includes the Atom blockchain ecosystem and our upcoming application, which will simplify your use of the personal account. And all this will be based on the wallet. So there are many processes. And thanks to this, we explore many markets and products. And obviously, We take the best mechanics from there, which work. There is a principle. For any action in the ecosystem, you will be rewarded. Participants in the system will be rewarded. We are starting to do this now. Right now, you can go to your personal account, and there is now an achievements section. These are the actions you have already taken or can take in the ecosystem and get rewarded for it. And there are two sections. The first is precisely these achievements. Today, we will reward those who have completed several achievements. It's free of charge. This is a reward for your time in the project. For 1 year, for 2, for 3, for 4 years. And the second reward is for the speed of decision making. If you invested in the first 2 weeks after your registration, you received this reward. And the third, it's something we are laying groundwork for the future with. It's a subscription to our Telegram bot, which will play a very important role soon and greatly simplify the interface for both existing audiences and those who will join us. So, subscribe to the Telegram bot. Firstly, it's very convenient and allows you to see everything you need. Secondly, soon there will be several key updates based on this Telegram bot, and you will be rewarded for it. Also, we have introduced bonuses, daily rewards. This will allow you, if you want to maximize your portfolio, to log into your account, read the news every day, and get rewarded just for logging in daily and receiving up-to-date information about our company. All those who meet the criteria have already received these rewards. Congratulations to you all. You will see a list of more rewards you will receive. And in fact, those stickers for snapshots will be posted there, which you will see when you participate. Congratulations to all of you. Share with us how many of these unexpected rewards you've received. We never talked about this anywhere. But it happened, and we congratulate all of us on this. So, goodbye. See you at the next webinar. Read the posts. Watch previous webinars. Ask questions. Be active and reliable investors.